side. He'll bust it through, making the tackle. Shaq Thompson for a 3-yard loss.
Shaq busting through. My goodness. When you put and what we see is Rose turning offense coming to fruition because Cam is actually a pocket quarterback. Who knew? Oh my goodness.
Tackles McCaffrey, busting through at the 30, 35, 40. Quick race down the right side. Here he goes at the 50, 40 to the Miami 30, 20 at the 10. A swipe with the ankles. They can't get him. Touchdown, Christian McCaffrey.
They can't get him. They can't get him. You're right.
They can't get them, but you can catch us. It's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop it up. The latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. That's right, the longest running Panthers podcast, C3 Panthers podcast. My name's Tony Dunn. They call me the professor. I'm here to profess, and I got to confess, I'm happy to be hanging out with Cody Lashney.
Hey, my man, my brother, it's another Tuesday night. I'm ecstatic. It's almost time for the combine. That means nerds like me have their underwear up in a bunch. I'm excited, man. I love it. I love this time of season. I love this time of year. Man, this is where you're getting to see the future of the NFL at its best. There's so much news. You and I are blown away every Tuesday at the amount of stuff we have to talk about, man. Absolutely insane. I'm ready to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, man. Let's go.
Tonight's show is what doesn't make Carolina older makes them stronger. We've got a ton to talk about. Specifically, the old men are out of here. Adams has been given his watch, his retirement watch, and his walking papers. Munnerlyn has gotten his walking papers. It's freed up slightly a little bit of cap room. Not about cap decision, though. I'm going to argue tonight that cutting Captain Munnerlyn was not a monetary decision, but a defensive decision going forward. We'll be talking about these moves, how they signal that directional change, and where the Panthers are trying to look to get younger, faster, and develop a secondary that has more years ahead of them than behind them. We've also got Eric Reid sniping at Panthers.com, Bill Voth, and the website. Elijah Hood signs a contract. Damian Parham signs a contract. We've got so much to talk about before we get to, the Olsen, to the media, the combine. I thought, Cody, this was the dead time of football. How come every Tuesday night we have more to talk about than less?
It's alive, Tony Dunn. It's alive. Panther Nation is alive like Frankenstein, and we are the doctor putting electricity through the head, man.
That's right. We're going to fire it up tonight. All right, so if you're watching the show, we appreciate it. We thank you for checking in on Facebook Live, on Periscope, and we know you guys in the YouTube chat are firing away. Fantastic to have you here and part of the conversation. You can be a part of the show by calling into the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. As well as you can even jump in the damn shindig if you want and get your pretty mug on the show. It would brighten up our day. It would brighten up the podcast because this ugly mug is a face meant for radio. Go ahead and turn your phones from landscape to portrait. Smash that thumbs up button on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope. Hit the retweet. We want subscribes. Our goal is to double the podcast by next year. And I don't think that that's an unrealistic goal, because just think about it this, folks. If we grow, Panther Nation grows. It's the discussion among fans. One person wrote me and said, hey, I love listening to the podcast because it sounds like we're all in the car together, heading to the game, chopping things up. That's what this show is about. It's the C3 Panthers podcast, and it's time to fire away, Cody. Tonight's first topic, the Carolina Panthers, and let's go ahead and cue it up. The Carolina Panthers have decided to move on from Captain Munnerlyn and will not be re-signing Mike Adams, who did make one last ditch appeal as a good player for this team, as a good leader in the locker room, going on 38 years old. He said, I still have football left in me and I want to be a Panther, But this week, yesterday, the news came out that they've cut Captain Munnerlyn and that they will not be re-signing Mike Adams. Let's see what they got to say. I think it's Ian Rappaport we got.
Yeah, and it really has all been headed in one direction. It has been veterans out, younger players in. We saw it early in the year when Julius Peppers obviously retired. Thomas Davis announced that the Panthers were moving away from him. Got two more big ones today. First of all, Captain Munnerlyn, one of the locker room leaders and a slot corner for the Panthers for the past couple years. And then obviously early on in his career, he was informed that he is going to be released, a more than capable cornerback now available during a free agent period when there's not a ton of those guys. And then Mike Adams, the veteran safety, Pops they call him, he is also going to be released by the Carolina Panthers.
What doesn't make you older makes you stronger for the Carolina Panthers. To me, this is a signal that the Panthers want a defense that has more years ahead of them than behind them. Captain Munnerlyn, to me, not a surprising cut, nor neither of these moves surprising to me, Cody.
Is any of this surprising? I don't think any of this is surprising at all. I will drop something that I read on Twitter that made a lot of sense to me. Normally, when you see a team that doesn't have a lot of salary cap space cutting players, normally it means that they have a fish that they're looking to sign. So on our own team, that might mean either Darrell Williams or another player that we're kind of hoping that it doesn't mean could be Devin Funchess. So that's, something to consider right there. Other than that, the cuts in and of themselves, they're not a surprise at all. Captain Munnerlyn was a liability in coverage last year, and Adams as a player, we just want to be younger at the positions that matter, especially the defensive backfield. And Adams, he was a great player for us for a little while. He was a good player. Maybe I might not want to say great. He did his job as the free agent safeties do here in Carolina. But yeah, we need to make a concerted effort to be younger at the faster positions on the field. And Adams was not that. So yeah, not surprising at all.
So none of this is surprising. I was listening to Panthers Proudcast, which is basically it's WFNZ anytime every day I think they put out a podcast, but it's just clips from their radio station discussion that they've mashed together to make a podcast, which is fine and cool. I liked it. Darren Gant was up there today. He was predicting, he said, I would not be surprised. This was yesterday morning. He was on air live on WFNZ, and he said, and they knew the information about Adams, right, all at this point. And he said, I wouldn't be surprised in the coming days, maybe in the next week or two, if Captain Munnerlyn was next on this list. But all of this, fantastic. As he's on live on the air, the tweet comes out from Ian Rappaport that says, hey, Captain Munnerlyn is cut. They made this great big deal out of Darren Gant being a soothsayer. And really, realistically, Darren Gant knows a ton about this team. So let's just go ahead and say that. He knows a ton about the team and the culture. He's been following it since its existence. So I'm not trying to downgrade that. What I will say is this, is that he then went on to say that Captain Munnerlyn's contract was abominable. He described it. Now, 2 years into the deal, the Carolina Panthers decide to part ways with Captain Munnerlyn. Last year was a reunion for Captain Munnerlyn with his team. It was a homecoming. He comes in, has difficulties. The Panthers scheme in or 2 seasons ago, what they were trying to do was field 3 linebackers, and they wanted to have Shaq Thompson in there in the nickel position. Captain Munnerlyn does not get a lot of playing time that first year back. It seemed like David Gettleman, who was fired that year, and the coaches were not on the same page about what they wanted Munnerlyn and the defense to be like, how they were going to allocate Shaq Thompson in this look. And so Munnerlyn has a lot of problems with the coaches. He is upset verbally with his role in the defense. But last year, he seems to re-ingratiate himself with the coaching staff. But the problem with that is Thomas Davis is out on a 4-game suspension. They play a lot of nickel, and Captain Munnerlyn not looking so good. The spotlight was not too forgiving when it came to Captain Munnerlyn. I don't think that this was an abominable contract. What I think is this: the Carolina Panthers saved $2 million by cutting Captain Munnerlyn. That is insignificant in the scheme of cutting a player and having to replace him, because his replacement will clearly be a $2 million player, I would think, unless they're a rookie. My point being is this: the contract's not abominable. This is that we parted ways. We saved a little money. Captain Munnerlyn had his skill set had deteriorated. He did not fit in rightly in Carolina. I was not surprised about this one bit.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by it at all. I mean, and how long have you and I and Joey been talking about? I mean, this is an old football team. There are guys that have been some stalwart players in our locker room, but on the field, I mean, they just weren't getting it done. And, you know, we kind of say that Munnerlyn's old. He's only 2 years older than I am.
He's 30. He's 30. But
yeah.
when you're undersized at your position, he's undersized. Yeah. He's very so. What he is, it was like he was overcoming that size deficiency when he was younger. At this point, it is starting to show a little bit. But Munnerlyn just hasn't been that good. In fact, Cody, what have most people thought that Munnerlyn has been over the past season?
Well, I mean, everybody, you know, there's a play that sticks out in everybody's mind where he just was burned bad. As a matter of fact, I'll play it right now. Oh, just burned him, man. Poor Cap. Poor
burned like Captain Munnerlyn.
Burn. One more time for the folks at home. Yeah, man, listen. Yeah, we're silly. Listen, man, Captain Munnerlyn did all right in his early years here in Carolina. And then, you know, after that, it was just kind of all downhill from here. He played well in Minnesota. And I remember when he was at Minnesota, we had a Minnesota writer, I believe, come on the show and tell us that, you know, Munnerlyn played his best football up there. So him coming back to Carolina, we were excited about the prospects of what Captain Munnerlyn might be able to do for us, being a veteran presence, knowing the defense and knowing the team. And it just never panned out that way. In fact, last year in 2017, there were times when he was pissed off that he wasn't on the field. And I know you remember that too.
I think that, yeah, it wasn't it was his first year back. And that's where, you know, I think that in 2017, that Captain Munnerlyn was probably closer to the player that the Panthers wanted him to be.
Yeah.
He could have been that on a defense that potentially had more. I mean, if you think about a pass rush on that defense, playing the nickel position. But what Munnerlyn was upset about was ultimately he had been courted back to Carolina to play a significant role in the defense. But that season, what we saw is that the Carolina Panthers were trying to learn about Shaq Thompson so much. And then Thomas Davis continued to play fantastic in 2017, and it proved a dilemma. The dilemma was a personnel dilemma, and that is either we keep Munnerlyn on the field in the nickel and we go Kuechly and TD as the two linebackers, or we try to find a way to fit our first-round pick, Shaq Thompson, who is entering his 5th year as a number one pick, or not a number one pick, a 25th overall first-round pick, who has not seen a lot of playing time. And what we saw is that the idea was that Shaq was too good of a player in the coach's mindset to keep on the sidelines. So they pushed Munnerlyn to the sidelines in that, and he was upset because he thought that he was brought here and fit here. This is the same year David Gettleman is fired from GM. I got to wonder at this point if we're starting to see some different divergence in the vision of what I think it was a logical move. We didn't have a nickel corner. We play nickel a ton. We need a guy that's reliable. And then all of a sudden we bring in Munnerlyn. It's not like his claims were bizarre. It's like we brought you here to be a nickel corner. We need a nickel corner. But sadly, every time we say we're playing a nickel defense, we're putting in Shaq Thompson instead of you. And then next year in the 2018 season, it started to culminate, and then you saw him move, like injuries hit, beset the Panthers, and you try to put Captain Munnerlyn on the outside. It just wasn't working. To me, this isn't a referendum on Captain Munnerlyn as much as a statement of where the Panthers need to go on. And that is, Munnerlyn, thank you for your service. Fantastic Panther, overplayed, bigger than your size, all of these different things. But your best years are behind you. We need guys with more future ahead of them.
Absolutely. And, Ron Rivera, not being the great talent evaluator that he is, has two guys on the roster in Corn Elder and Rashawn Golden, who, really like at the nickel position, or apparently our coaches like them at that position. So, apparently when Elder was drafted, Dave thought he compared favorably to a Captain Munnerlyn. So I don't know, man. Like I said, he was good for a while in his early years. His best years were probably in Minnesota. And then, you laid out what happened the past 2 years, I think, pretty well.
All right, so if you're thinking about Adams in this position, you're talking about now, who then are the guys that step in that have the future ahead of him? I mean, Adams, obviously, look, we commit to Eric Reid. Eric Reid is going to be the strong safety here, a leader. Now in this defensive secondary, we have a budding star potentially in Dante Jackson. We have a strong player in James Bradbury. The question is, what do you do at nickel? What do you do at free safety? I think that we can't overly speculate at what the Panthers are going to do at nickel. They could try to move and adjust a player on the roster to deal with that. They could try to go after this in free agency. I doubt they try to address this in the draft. Then we go to the free safety position. Mike Adams out. Is Golden the answer, Cody?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I've heard them say they want him at nickel. They've played him at free safety. Golden is such a question mark to me right now. I don't know what to even make of him. I don't know what to think of him just from a fan perspective, because we haven't seen a lot of them. And our coaches, they liked him enough to draft him in what I believe it was the 3rd or 4th round. So they obviously feel he has some kind of talent. I ultimately just don't know what his ceiling is ultimately going to be. I still kind of do want to kick the tires in maybe the 4th or 5th round on the safety if there's one available. Maybe a Mike Bell out of Fresno State, Malik Grant out of Marshall. One of these players that you put in the free safety position and just let them roam. Let Eric Reid stay in the box. Help out Luke and Shaq in the run. I would love that. But Golden, dude, your estimation is as good as mine, man. Because I have no idea what to think of him just because we haven't seen him enough.
We don't know. Just like I just saw that Aaron Ford may be, a.k.a. Mel Mayock, may be in the chat room on Facebook. If that is you, Mel Mayock, hello. Good to see you. Where's the Waldo? Glad to hear the name that I love that I miss, right? And we would like to know your insight at some point into what the Panthers can do at this position. Right now, is Rashawn Golden is an important piece in the Panthers defense going forward. The question is he the piece that we can build, that we can be confident in, that will be the answer? And I think the Panthers are going to have to pad it. I would like for them, I'd prefer for them to pad it in free agency. And the reason I say that is that if we go and draft a guy, now if you go and you make a statement in the 1st or 2nd rounds at a free safety and you say we're going to put a really rangy guy and have this Legion of Boom type backfield that we're trying to develop, then okay, I'm all right with that, I guess. But you have to fully commit. What I would really like for them is to bring in a veteran to be behind Golden and to coach him up in case, and then have some depth in case it doesn't work out. But we'll be watching that. Is that ultimately Mike Adams, thank you for your time here. Captain Munnerlyn, thank you for your time. But really, that this was a move that freed up an insignificant amount of money overall, but ultimately made a big statement about us going forward, about what we want to do on this defense. And I'm going to throw in a quick topic here, Cody. Actually, before that, let's take a quick timeout and just say this. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. We're live every Tuesday night. You can follow us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. We're on YouTube. Smash that thumbs up button if you're listening. And if you like the show, this is what you do. This is how you help Panther Nation grow. You take the link to the show and you send it to one friend that you know that loves the Panthers that doesn't know about the show. That's a way to grow the show. I'm throwing in a added topic to a show that has too many topics right here. My idea at this point, I think the Panthers need to go ahead and shit or get off the pot when it comes to Shaq Thompson. And I say this, it's time to sign Shaq Thompson to a 3-year deal. Sign Shaq Thompson to a 3-year deal, which can help minimize the $9 million here. Look, are we really going to try to have these holes on defensive ends, this question mark at corner, the question mark at free safety? Right now, we have 3 cogs in this defense we can count on. Luke Kuechly, KK Short, and Eric Reid. We need someone else that we can feel confident about. We've invested a lot in Shaq Thompson. I don't know if Shaq Thompson is great yet. I know he's not bad. I think it's time to sign him to a 3-year deal and hopefully free up a little space and give us a little direction of what we can do in the draft and in free agency, Cody.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, you kind of have to. I mean, if you look at the depth at the linebacker position right now, dude, it just doesn't exist, man. I mean, after Shaq and
Zero.
Luke,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I believe Eric or David Mayo is out the door this year. Ben Jacobs is a coach now. I mean, no, we did draft the guys last year out of UNC and Maryland, and I will never remember their names until they.
Oh God, nah, it's something William. I know the Maryland guy. The Maryland kid can play. That guy, I think it's Williams. I'm not 100% sure.
Williams or something like.
The chat room will let us know.
Yeah, at some point the chat will come to our rescue. But I mean, other than that, yeah. Listen, especially after losing Thomas Davis, I mean, we really do need to make sure that we have a starter on the roster. I mean, right now it's a no-brainer to make sure that you have Shaq Thompson going into the year at less of a cap hit.
Jermaine Carter.
Yeah, Jermaine Carter Jr.
Thank you, Jeremy Clancy.
Yeah, and you know, we keep you around for a reason, chat. We love you. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know why you wouldn't at this point. I mean, Luke, as much as we love to heap the praises on him, you can't have him out there alone by himself. So
here's the thing. Here's the thing with Shaq is that you can say the Carolina Panthers could say, look, we haven't seen a ton from Shaq yet. We've seen look, and I'm wearing his jersey. Look, I bought it right away. I'm not a hater of Shaq Thompson, but I would just say this is that I'm sad that after 4 years, we don't know more about Shaq Thompson. And really, it's not his fault. It's not even coaching staff's fault. The problem, you know whose fault it is Thomas Davis.
Thomas Davis, yeah. I mean, because the fact that he stayed around.
Yeah, he just stayed good. You know, and here's the thing is that I don't know if Shaq Thompson is what I want Shaq Thompson to be, but I know he's not bad. And this is what I do think is that if you want to say we're going to pay $9 million to Shaq Thompson this year, and it is a prove it year, then that's fine. That they've committed to the $9 million. There is a way to take that money though and slim it down a little bit. And the way to do that is a 3-year deal, 4-year deal maybe, where you have a friendly out on the back ends if you're really worried about. I think we're going to learn a lot about what the coaching staff and what Marty Hurney thinks about with Shaq Thompson. If Shaq Thompson goes into this season and plays that, what do they call it, where they put the rights on you for their 5th year, the 5th-year option?
Yeah, 5th-year option.
If he plays at the $9 million for the 5th-year option, I would say that is an indication actually that the Panthers don't really know what they think about Shaq Thompson yet. Because if you believe that well, yeah, because they didn't make a decision in trying to actually fit. Actually, I don't know. That's a great question.
This goes back to David Gettleman, in my opinion, because everyone loves to shit on David Gettleman, and I understand. There's been a lot of bad draft picks, but the consensus is, even though we might never know, is that Trent Richardson wanted Dave Gettleman out because of the way that he was seemingly about to treat Greg Olsen, who we're about to talk about in a second, and Thomas Davis, and that he wanted to make the roster younger and basically show them the door and say, hey, thanks for your time here, but we're going to do some stuff.
We're talking about Olsen. We're talking about Davis. We're talking about a lot of names that are well beyond. Look, Steve Smith, D'Angelo Williams, those guys were the first wave. Right. He really wanted to go after, not go after them, but if you think about what his plan was, is that Thomas Davis would have been a non-issue last year.
Right.
As well as Olsen as well.
Under the plans of Dave Gettleman, that mafia member, man, we would have known more about Shaq Thompson at this point than we do now. But so
what do you do? What do you think you do? Do you just play the $9 million, or do you try to just say, here? I think it's too much. I think it would make Shaq feel good. And I don't know if he'd be willing. I don't think another team is going to give him a 4-year big contract. And what I'm saying is this: we'll give you stability. We'll give you longevity in the league for a couple more years. You don't have to worry about injury. You sacrifice $2 million this year, but you make $7 million over the long term.
Well, a lot of it is how Shaq Thompson evaluates himself as a player. Does he want top tier money? But that's something that we just don't know yet. I mean, maybe Shaq has a crazy high evaluation on himself, or maybe he says, no, I understand. I haven't been able to show you everything that I'm capable of doing. And I can be a starter,
a key part in a defense building forward. I think he would do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the side that I don't know. I'm kind of think that maybe it's not like, unless they just cut him, they still have to pay him. I kind of think Shaq Thompson takes another year to bet on himself, takes $9 million, because who doesn't want $9 million, and try and play out of your mind and earn even more money for 2020.
All right, so it's a topic that I'm going to write on, folks. Shaq Thompson and his role in this defense may be one of the more important storylines of the Carolina Panthers going forward. I promise you this, is that if we just pay him $9 million and say this is our last, that means this is our last season with you.
Yeah.
If we don't do something now, he's going to cost too much or be too less by the end of it. All right, let's go to this. Look, fantastic, guys. We have a ton of people watching the show. We have had fantastic numbers listening to the show. Right now, there are 44 people watching live. Thank you for taking the time out of your Tuesday night to join the C3 Panthers podcast. Hundreds more listen to the podcast throughout the week. I ask you this. Out of those 44 people, right now, I'm shaming y'all. 16 thumbs up in YouTube. Come on, guys. Give us a couple of thumbs up. Share the show. It really helps far more than you think. I promise you this. We've been doing this for 6 years, and what it is a grind. We have 1,800 followers on YouTube, subscribers. I feel like I've earned every single one of them. I almost know every single one of them. The chat room is lit every single week. We have a relationship here. We appreciate that, guys. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Support the show. Grow Panthers Nation. Let's move on to the next topic. Greg Olsen being courted. Oh, he's being courted. Cody,
Yes,
the media loves him. And how can you not love the chiseled jaw of a man like that? He's a beautiful person. The ladies love him. I tell you the only thing I don't love about Greg Olsen. There's one thing I do not love about him, and I can't even be that upset about it because he has like a charity that sells beanies or toboggans. In the South, we call them toboggans. We don't call them toboggans in the South. We call them toboggans in the South. Toboggans. Right. But he wears the beanie, whatever the hat, the cap that you wear when you're cold out. He wears it in insanely hot conditions. He wears it everywhere. It is slightly annoying to me that you see him in Spartanburg. It's 100 degrees out. He's got a damn toboggan on. He's at the Duke game. He's got a toboggan on. But I forgive him because he sells them for charity for like $1,200 a pop or whatever it is. Greg Olsen, not only do the ladies love him, the Fox and ESPN love him, it seems like, too, Cody.
Yeah, not only do they love him, but they really want him. It seems as though ESPN wants him to replace Charles Woodson on their Monday night countdown show. Charles Woodson stepped down, and it seems as though they want him to fill that position. And Fox, they have Thursday Night Football now, and it's being rumored that Troy Aikman doesn't want to do Thursdays and the primetime games on Sundays. So they also want him to fill that position. The problem is for Greg, he is set to earn about $3.4 million this year when all is said and done with signing bonus and all this other news. So Greg Olsen is basically weighing his options right now as to financially what is the best for him. If he wants to make another run at the Super Bowl with the Panthers or retire to the cushy chair of the broadcast booth, man. And listen,
I would not be surprised if he does. I would not be surprised
either. But I will tell you this, as much as I love him on the Panthers, and ultimately I do want him to come back for one more season, I don't feel it's a Thomas Davis type situation where there's really nothing left for him to provide for the team. I do think that him and Ian Thomas would be another dynamic duo for another year.
Yeah. The question is, does the foot work?
The foot does the foot hold up.
And it's so sad hearing them talk about it, Cody. And not sad.
It really is.
It's that, but he knows this. And when you look at this, I said this on the podcast, I feel like in the past, is the bone that is giving him problems is so small in his foot.
Yeah, it's
like when you look at
right?
It's just like when you look at it on the x-ray or whatever they're looking at, I can imagine how disheartening and depressing that is to Greg Olsen, that this little bone, if Greg Olsen's foot was a chicken wing, we would eat that little bone like gristle. It would be an insignificant, we wouldn't even know it's a bone as we tried to chew away at the meat. The point that I'm trying to make is this, is that such a small, it is, while it looks small on the ground, it's really causing him problems. And you can hear how disheartened he has been, how frustrated he has been. Now, he has said he wants to play football. I believe he can. If he comes back and the foot works, he can play football. He can, like you were saying, contribute. Yeah. The question is, if that foot is not right, why would he? It would if you have a concern that 3 or 4 weeks into the season, you're going to find yourself on the IR. Maybe you take this. Maybe the window is open to get into the media now, and it might not be next year.
It might be, man. And listen, I am so sick and tired of hearing Jason Witten's stupid voice mumbling around on Monday Night Football.
Oh, you guys are way too hard on it. Everybody's
no, we are
way
not,
too
dude.
hard on it.
He is so bad, dude. Jason Witten and Booger McFarland are absolutely awful. They're awful, Tony Dunn. They're awful.
I want to go. I just do want to say this. Charles C. dipped, and I was going to go to his question next.
I saw that.
And we had a question
about Ross Cockrell.
We'll go to that next, though, because he deserves to have his question answered. But finish up on Greg Olsen. The fifth floor crew? Fifth floor crew.
Yeah,
he wants to stick he wants to stick his dick in your ear, Greg Olsen, and let you hear him and on ESPN. Nah, this kid. I'm kidding.
In your eye, actually, in your eye.
I thought it was in your ear and your eye.
For those of you who don't know, it's very adult rated. When Greg Olsen,
it's awesome. It's so good.
At Miami, him and the guys at Miami wrote a rap song, and it's very.
He said, I'm freaky. I want to stick it in your ear. I'm pretty sure about that.
I've listened to it so many times, man.
Look it up, folks.
In the eye. Look it up, but yeah, man, I'm telling you, I do think that Greg, and I said this before, Greg Olsen was known for his durability. I mean, he had never missed a snap
for so long.
Since his first season in Chicago, he hadn't
all the way to this stupid foot.
Yeah, now everyone thinks about the foot and the injury. It's unfortunate, man. He loves being a part of this team. I think that him and Cam Newton are bigger friends on the outside of football than we even know. I think they really are boys. So, yeah.
Well, I know they are. I know they are. And the reason I know they are is because I have what I love. You know what has made ingratiate? I know people love the way that Greg Olsen has played. I know that they love the story that surrounds his children, and it is beautiful. Yeah. What his family has endured, what they go through.
I think
that Greg Olsen has stepped up and been such a vocal leader for this team in a time where you had problems with the general manager that may have been a little bit due to him. Also, as well as the craziness that surrounded the owner. Greg Olsen has been from the very first moment and said that Cam Newton has been the reason his career has succeeded. He is a ride or die supporter when it comes to Cam Newton. And another guy that's like this was Ryan Khalil. And I'm telling you, you know what is ingratiated more and more to me than their play is that they know as Greg Olsen goes out there and he fights for his quarterback. I love that because we do that each and every Tuesday night here, Cody.
Absolutely, man. He's one of us. And, I mean, let's not forget that with Cam Newton throwing Greg the football, Greg is the first tight end in NFL history with 3 consecutive seasons of 1,000 receiving yards. Greg Olsen is the first one to do it. Now, Travis Kelce just recently matched it. But no other tight end in history had ever done it before. Greg Olsen was the first one with Cam Newton throwing him the football. He's always been one of the biggest defenders of Cam Newton. I love Greg. I love what he does in the community with his foundation. How about this? He should have been the Walter Payton Man of the Year, damn it. He was snubbed hard 2 years in a row. Greg Olsen's the man. I love him. We all love him. And no matter what he does, man, I definitely will always be a fan of Olsen.
So if he retires in 2 months and takes the broadcasting job next month, are you happy for him?
I'm happy for him, but I don't think he will. I think that you will see Olsen on the field at the start of the 2019 season.
We could really use him this year. We could really use him this year in the locker room because I promise you this is that while there we need a couple of stable bodies to bolster Cam. And it's not because necessary for Cam is that it's worth. Cam deserves to have some other guys on this team other than him being the only voice, the only, coming off an injury. I really hope he comes back. If he does go to this broadcasting crew, I will always refer to him as saying thank you from up there on the 5th floor for that commentary of that play right there. Stick it in your ear. Cody says it's your eye. Pretty sure it's your ear. Let's go on this. We've got so much to talk about. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. It's every Tuesday night. We're on Overtime Media. If you hear this, if you hear Overtime Media, that means that you're listening to a podcast that has been reliable, that has been productive through the past, and we thank you for their background, their support here. Let's move on to the next subject. Eric Reid. Now, Eric Reid is a controversial figure, Cody.
Yes, he is.
He shouldn't be as much as he is. I think some of it is unwarranted. I think some of it is warranted in some cases. He likes to touch the button a little bit. Now, I was at the bar tonight. Every Tuesday we drop off my daughter at karate, and there's this like little tap bar, like a craft beer place, and we go and have a couple beers there while we're waiting for our daughter. I know that's good parenting right there. But I go in there and I tell him this guy, and he's like, "Oh, he's a Panthers fan." I'm telling him about the podcast, and the guy beside him is a Denver Broncos fan. And I said, "Yeah, we've been doing the longest running Panthers podcast." He goes, "Oh, you got to get rid of Cam Newton." I was like, "Oh God."
Oh, one of those, man.
I was like, he's a non-Panther fan though, but immediately, and I was like, "All right, well, that's no." All right, thank you for your input, but like I told him this. I said my buddy Cody and I who do the podcast right now is that we take the opposite stance of anything you feel. We are the complete opposite. Then he goes on. Then I said, look, and I was talking to the Panthers fan. I was like, look, these moves today. What we're talking about tonight is Munnerlyn, Adams moving along, and what that signals to me is KK, Luke Kuechly, and building now around Eric Reid. And he goes, Eric Reid, cancer. The other guy, I was like, first of all, we're not talking. Yeah, we're not talking to you, man, at the bar, who is a Denver Broncos fan, who is also probably a redneck from North Carolina. At the same time, my point is that I don't really give a crap what you think about Eric Reid as a person. Is that ultimately he came in and contributed to the team. So I was like, his teammates, they're kind of supportive of it. Not kind of, they are vocally supportive of him. I said, so your description in one word that he's a cancer is hyperbole. And what then now is we're getting to, though, is those slightly, I do have this one thing that is concerning about Eric Reid. Go ahead and put it up one more time, Cody. Eric Reid comes after a little bit after Bill Voth from Panthers.com. Panthers.com has been asked a little bit about potentially Colin Kaepernick coming to the Carolina Panthers because Colin Kaepernick's agent signaled that this could be a decent fit for him. Now, my question to you is that then Eric Reid fires shots and says, look, Kaepernick did not lose his job. He's tagging almost Bill Voth. And Bill Voth said that he did not say lose his job. It's just that Blaine Gabbert took the job, like stepped into the role because of injury. My one concern about Eric Reid is that I believe that 98% of his criticism is right. But is this too far where you're calling out the reporter of the team? And he didn't really emphasize that. He didn't say Blaine Gabbert beat him out. He said that Blaine Gabbert took over as Colin Kaepernick was struggling with injury. I'm a little concerned at this point that Eric Reid is slightly too sensitive on important issues right now. And then he goes on to say, I've got Kaepernick's number. Is this weird that he's, or actually, is it not weird? This is the first kind of red flag to me about Eric Reid. It's not about him. It's like, why is he firing shots over something so small?
So first, is it weird? Absolutely. But first and foremost, before we go any further, here we are, another Tuesday night, and Susan Dean drops a $15 love bomb in the chat. We love Susan.
She's wonderful. I saw her with a picture of the C3 Voice of Panther Nation shirt on. She's looking fly as hell.
Just repping the best Panthers podcast there is, man. Thanks to Susan. You know we love you. You're a part of the C3 family. Now back to Eric. Yeah, it's weird, man. I
feel like it was too trivial, like too small.
And you know what? I'm gonna play the other one that you put up here, because I think that it kind of plays into what I'm saying. If the Panthers sign Colin Kaepernick, do you think Eric Reid would try and sabotage Cam Newton's starting job? I honestly think they would.
At 3 testes. All right, so the at 3 testes. And by the way, I give anybody, I think that this tweet rises up in the ranks of legitimacy to me, because he's referencing the AAF with Apollo's SCN. I love AAF football. So right now he's saying this. It's actually, it sounds silly. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, JFK, man on the grassy knoll type thing. But gosh, being that, I feel like Bill Voth is one of those guys that was trying to be very judicious and cautious with his language with anything that comes to Eric Reid in support of him. And then he comes out and is like attacking him slightly over something that was not clear, that Bill Voth did not phrase it that he beat him out.
No, and I'm of the mindset that this team lives and dies with Cam Newton. You and I both know that. You and I both say that. I do think that with Colin being his best friend, yeah, I think that he wants to be on a team where Colin Kaepernick is the quarterback of the football team and he's playing safety, and that would be vindication if they both won another Super Bowl together, with everything they were fighting for. We've talked about Cap. We don't want him, or I don't want him, because I don't want to spend money on a team where there's so many holes on a backup quarterback. I just think that's redundant, on a player that we hope
we are ride or die with Cam. We're ride or die with
100%. 100%.
If we don't have Cam, I don't care who you put in there. I don't care. Is that all right? Maybe maybe in a long. I just don't feel like we're one player away from a Super Bowl anywhere. And if you take away Cam Newton, we're like 12 players away from a Super Bowl.
All right, so we're gonna try this out. We have a friend, a loved one, a founding C3 family member on the show right now. Joe Riolano, are you there, our dear friend?
I'm here, yes.
He's here.
Yeah.
Glad to be on again.
I missed you, Joe. I missed you so much.
It's been a while. You're right. It has been a while.
We need you on the show, man. Happy to have you here.
There was a couple of things. Being under the weather with pneumonia again, and stupid computer issues, but I think that's resolved now, so good to go.
Amen, brother. My favorite person in the world, Joe Riolano, other than my wife and my children and my mother. Right, Joe. You know the people that outrate you, but Joey is my bro, and I'm so happy to hear your voice again. I'm so glad you're here. Joey, we're tired, as Lynn said, about the Kaepernick talk. What is strange about this, Joey, I'm going to turn the mic over to you and you'll close this topic on it, is that I hated Kaepernick prior to all of the statements that he made politically, because he comes to Carolina, he does the stupid button-ups, Panthers,
that was so aggravating.
Yeah, all of that. That's why I hated him. Now, when all the crap unfolded, I I would say I basically I just refused to be a person that was going to be just so angry at him individually from his position. But now he's settled. Now it seems like they have tried to put this, at least him and Eric Reid, in the past. And now I'm back to hating Kaepernick because I don't want him on the Panthers, not because I feel he would be disruptive, because Cam Newton is our archangel, Michael. He's our warrior, baby. It's time. We don't need Cam. Is that if we had Colin Kaepernick, would we be bad? No. But would we be Cam good? No. Joey, where do you stand with the Carolina Panthers? And the backup quarterback. I heard Darren Gant said we should pick a backup quarterback in the second round. I almost vomited on the radio when I heard that.
Yeah, so that would be. Well, look who it's coming from, and that tells you all you need to know.
He's cool, but God, second round.
Yeah. As far as Colin Kaepernick goes, frankly, I'm sick of hearing it. I just wish somebody would pick him up already so we don't have to hear our supposed fans even talking about it. Yes, he is similar to Cam Newton in some ways, but he's not Cam Newton. And remember, we had this argument way back when he got drafted and he was, people were making such a big deal. I think Ron Jaworski said he was going to be the best quarterback.
Oh, yes, Joey. Joey is coming back from the archives. We had a real show where we debated this over and over.
And we brought our good friend, what's his name, Pete, from out west. Yeah.
Fantasy. Pete Fantasy.
Right. He came on and we talked about it. We debated with him about it. He's a 49ers writer. Was it for Bleacher Report now? Anyway, for somebody. Yep. And we had a big show about that. But Kaepernick has been out of football for a couple of years. Just too much baggage, and it's not even worth discussing anymore, really. Cody, you said it. We have too many other areas of need to be worried about spending money on a Kaepernick.
We need to be rooting for Kaepernick to get a job on a team that needs a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
we don't need a quarterback, do we, Cody?
Well, no. Okay, so listen. It's common practice for teams, even with franchise quarterbacks, to draft guys in the later rounds that they think can run their system on the off chance that something does happen. So there's a guy named Tyree Jackson who I really do like as a backup quarterback for Cam Newton. Maybe the 4th or 5th round. I would love that if he was there. Coincidentally enough, it was the quarterback at Buffalo, and that's an ongoing joke in our chat about sending players to Buffalo. Before we go any further, Josh from Mass with the $28.03. Never forget, and we will never forget, Josh, that the Falcons lost the worst
28
out of any team in the Super Bowl. Josh, and we love you, brother. Thank you.
That might be. I mean, there's a conflux right there of being a great part of the C3 Panthers podcast, a conflux of being a great Panthers fan, and a conflux of throwing the fucking middle finger to the Atlanta Falcons. Sorry for the language. There's so many layers to that. Josh from Mash, thank you so much. And thank you so much for the people in the chat room that are just chatting it up. That's all you got to do is jump in the car with us. We're picking you up. We're heading to the game. We're chopping up the Panthers football. I can tell you, I got a 3rd or 4th win. I hear Joey's voice. I'm so excited to have the freaking Puerto Rican back on the show. No, I'm telling you, it means a lot to me to be back with my bud. let's go, Joey. We're gonna move on from the Kaepernick because really we don't want to.
Let me ask you one last question, real quick.
Yeah.
What team would you not want Kaepernick to go to other than the Panthers? In other words, what team do you think could actually use him and he could help them be much better?
I mean, I felt he should have been in Jacksonville last year, considering Bortles is a dumpster fire. I don't know if there's any team I don't want him on. I mean, even if it was
because in the division now, it seems like we're pretty settled, but there is question marks at this point when it comes to Tampa Bay.
That's where it scares me. I'm scared of him going there and Bruce Arians turning him around and him getting back to that Super Bowl form.
Well, how about Drew Brees only has 1 year left on this contract, and Sean Payton being an offensive mastermind or whatever the hell they label him now, I mean, I don't know if that would happen, but I don't know. Are any of you afraid of Colin Kaepernick at this point?
No, right now.
And I think this is that I kind of want to defend Bill Voth on this against Eric Reid. I thought Eric Reid was reaching slightly in saying, hey, like he didn't lose his job, because I don't think Bill Voth wrote that like he lost to Blaine Gabbert. He did imply that it was injury ridden. I do think this, though, is that Bill Voth raised a question early that was kind of tough, and that is we don't know if he can play still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that might be a little exaggerated. I just would say this is we don't know what he is right now. That's it. Right. Is that whether he can play or not play? I think that's hyperbolic or whatever. My point being is that look, 2 years out of the league is that you don't know a lot about him. Maybe that's good for Colin Kaepernick. There's zero bad tape on Colin Kaepernick for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's zero bad tape on that. But I am not ready. I don't think that it's not a Kaepernick thing. It's not a Nealon thing. Is the Carolina Panthers need to ultimately say Cam Newton or bust. That's what I think. We don't have enough. We don't have any other things that's going to really help us. We got so many other parts we got to address. Let's move on with the show now to I think, and Joey, Lynn said, send him to the Dolphins and nobody care about him. True that. Some news tonight, Cody. Let's go ahead and put this up. Parms, the Panthers did sign some depth signings. They have signed Damian Parms, safety. We have heard about him in the past. We have not gotten to see a lot of him. The Panthers coaching staff has talked him up a good bit, but he has suffered like hamstring injuries and some things that sidelined him early in the preseason, and he found himself off the team quickly. So they signed him. This seems like a depth signing that you're trying to build a little depth behind maybe Golden, behind maybe Eric Reid, but also they've signed Elijah Hood, who looked fantastic. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Really looked like he could be a player and a contributor. Played great on special teams, then had a tough leg injury to land him on IR. These moves, they may be inconsequential to the national media, Cody, but these seem like important roster-building moves going into free agency.
Yeah, I mean, very important. Listen, I even shout out Susan on this. I had no idea who Damian Parms was until she mentioned him and tagged us on Twitter. I honestly had no idea that the dude was even a guy who lived and breathed. I didn't even remember him. So whether or not he's on the team, I mean, we'll see. He'll have his shot to do it. This seems like a depth signing to me, which I have no problem with. That's a part of what you have to do. Elijah Hood, I'm happy about because he was injured on like the first play of the last preseason game.
Yeah, and he looked good.
Yeah, and he was looking great, man. This is a guy that went to, I believe, Charlotte Catholic.
Carolina. No, I think he was. Oh, yeah.
No,
but
no,
I
no,
think
no,
he
no,
played at
no,
UNC.
right, but he went to,
He played
yeah,
at
he went
Carolina.
to UNC. He went to UNC, but he played high school football right here in Charlotte. So he's a hometown guy. He's a bruiser. He's a powerful runner. I think that he would be the perfect complement to Christian McCaffrey. I'm hoping that it works out, or that he at least, how about this? Get some love that Cameron Artis-Payne never received. How about that? I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, is that right now is that there are some question marks. Christian McCaffrey played like 100% of the offensive snaps last year. Right now, if the Panthers brought back Cameron Artis-Payne, I don't even know how I could feel about the Panthers. That's what I would say, is that this is like, gosh, it's not going to happen. That's the most. They've already made this statement, which is bad by them, I believe. But the Panthers do not have anything at the current moment behind Christian McCaffrey. This may be slightly some running back depth. I feel like this is special teams depth. Joey, I got to ask you an off-the-wall question. You're not prepared for this. Have you watched any of the AAF?
Orlando Apollos, baby.
Oh, I'm Salt Lake City Stallions all the way, ride or die.
Yeah, I've definitely watched it. I've enjoyed it. It's been entertaining, no doubt.
What do you think about this? Is the reason I bring that up is that Trent Richardson, who was known for being overweight, who looks physically just chiseled at this point, scored 3 touchdowns for the Birmingham Iron. Do you maybe consider bringing in a power back of a guy of low dollars? A Trent Richardson, I know that most people are going to laugh when I say that, but we got to have somebody behind Christian McCaffrey. And while I think Elijah Hood is an important addition to the team, I don't know if that's enough.
I mean, he was really good in college. I think he's matured a bunch from where he was when he was in the league earlier. He looked pretty good, and what's it hurt to bring him to camp and see what he can do?
Right. But do you think that is enough, Joe? Like, I feel like that's a good, important sign-in, but we cannot say that it's Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Hood going forward. Wouldn't that be a little tough?
No, I wouldn't feel comfortable just doing that. We definitely need to bring somebody in, and he's proven he can do it before. So sure, let's bring him in, and see if he can get back to his rookie form.
Well, we can't bring in Anderson, CJ. We have to have something to complement.
I agree.
him. And I know that that's kind of a bizarre example in Trent Richardson, but I think it would be cheap. I think it would be a guy that has played in the NFL a little bit. I do think I think we got to have somebody that is at the end of the day, as people could make fun of that idea, and it probably is far-fetched and wild, but at the same time, what I am arguing is that Christian McCaffrey is going to be the guy. You don't need a star behind him, but you do need you need the kind of Ron Dane to the Tiki Barber. You need the Jeremy Bettis to who was it? Who was the fast guy? They had that 5th round pick that went crazy. You kind of need a guy that can take some of the load off. Yeah. And we really need to start thinking about that going forward. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. You can be a part of the show by calling in the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. Holy cow, we have had so much to talk about. We're already an hour into the show, Cody, and we've barely scraped the surface what we've been doing each and every week. And before we get into what we're doing, I do want to ask you as fans in the chat room to tell us what you think about this Kaepernick stuff. I know I'm fatigued about it, so I actually don't want you to talk about the Kaepernick stuff. But what do you think the Panthers are going to do running back? We've talked about safety issues and concerns on the other side. Can Golden be the guy? We want to hear from you. The number's 252-228-5098. Jump in that conversation on the YouTube chat, on Facebook, Periscope. Give us a share. Tell one Panthers friend about the show. It really helps us. Let's go to this, Cody. Cody is so excited about the underwear Olympics approaching that he's finally happy that we can briefly put on pause the segment that we've been doing for the last month, and that is get to better know a potential Panthers free agent, because he's ready to move on to the next segment, which is get to know a potential Panthers draft. But the last one tonight, Cody,
counting the days, baby.
Who is the potential free agent that we are thinking about tonight and how they could fit in with the Panthers?
So tonight is a Super Saiyan version of Jarius Wright. Tonight we are going to be previewing Golden Tate, wide receiver, originally from the Lions. He went to the Eagles this past year. He was traded. And the man is a monster, man. You throw the ball to him on the sideline, as you see here, and he is good to go. He is a yards after catch receiver. He's lightning fast. And as you can see, he has the bravado. So he would fit in very well with Cam Newton and the Panthers. I think ultimately Golden Tate is what they hope DJ Moore will kind of turn into. Maybe a little bit more of a higher ceiling than Tate. He's a fast receiver. You can throw him the deep ball, and he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. And honestly,
he's better after the catch than anything.
Yeah, he is the type of receiver, but when the ball is in his hands, he's making a play. And honestly, if you look at Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, this is the type of player that we have been trying to put on the team and put around Cam Newton. I mean, even if you look at Christian McCaffrey, the ability to run the ball between the tackles and being such a powerful receiving threat, this is the type of player they want to put around Cam Newton. It's been reported that Philadelphia is not going to sign him for another year into a brand new contract. So that means he is a free agent player that is available for us to bring on to the team. And I mean, if you look at what, like I said, what we have done, he fits perfectly with what we want to do here in Carolina. And if you want to add to the weapons that Cam Newton has, I mean, this might be the best move for us to make this offseason.
Joe, I'm going to let you go first because I am not of a good feeling right now when it comes to Golden
I like
Tate.
Golden Tate. I've always liked him. I thought he was Stafford's best receiver for the last couple of years.
Way better than I thought he was.
Very productive. And if I'm thinking correctly, he's pretty injury free.
You're right. He has been very reliable.
So I can see that definitely being an asset. I just wonder where wide receiver is on our list of priorities.
Right.
That's my only concern, but definitely he would be an asset for sure.
All right. So I'm going against the grain right here. I say no to Golden Tate. And the reason I say this is, one, is less to do with Golden Tate, and one with me as just a poor evaluator of talent myself, is I just assumed that Golden Tate was an okay receiver. and he turned out to be very good. So I'm kind of like holding that against him a little bit. When I watch him, he kind of looks like to me, is he fast? Yeah, kind of, but he's not super fast. He doesn't look super athletic. He's short. He's not strong. He's kind of the guy that goes and plays at the basketball game at the gym who is unathletic, but is just super effective. And you're like, other guys are running as hard as they can. They're shooting up like they're trying the most. And this dude is just getting rebounds, putting up easy layups. Part of this is on me, is that I misjudged how good Golden Tate was. So I also don't want him to be as good as he is, but want him to be as of my expectations. But when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, though, is I feel like it's too much of a duplication of talent, Cody. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm worried about.
I understand.
Is that right now is that we have a guy, I think DJ Moore is that guy that's very similar to a Golden Tate, like you said, exactly with a higher ceiling. Are you going to put out there Golden Tate, DJ Moore, and Curtis Samuel? Is that the lineup that is best in the goal when you get into the red zone? And on paper, I would say no. But then at the same time, I see how great and how much wiggle Golden Tate has.
Yeah, look at that play right there.
Yeah, maybe my own bias is the reason I say no, but he's undersized to me. That's the concern.
No, and I understand that. And I even remember the first time I was on this show was during the draft night. And when we drafted DJ Moore, I wasn't really happy with the pick at the time because I thought that Curtis Samuel was that for us. I felt that they were kind of similar in what they do. So I understand what you're saying and that there's a bit of redundancy if you add Tate to the roster right now because it's very similar to guys that we already have. And on top of that, to add even to your argument a little bit, is that we have Jarius Wright on the receiver right now, or on the roster right now. Who's a much cheaper option, a third down player. And, it doesn't look like we're going to sign Devin Funchess to an extension. At least if we are, it hasn't happened yet as of this moment.
No, we're not. If we do, how about
this? We hope not, but you never know what
I've been a pro Marty Herney train since when we went with him. I thought it was effective. I thought it was an efficient decision. Did I think he was the best option in the entire vacuum? No, but I thought it worked, and I thought Marty Herney was pretty good at the draft.
Yeah.
If Marty Herney, the people say that what's jacked up about him is giving people contracts that don't deserve it or inflated contracts, at the very least, Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams were good. Devin Funchess has not shown that. Devin Funchess not showed that. Devin Funchess is no longer welcome in Carolina. And I'm not saying I hope
by Marty Herney too. And there's this thing where GMs, they don't like to sign players that they didn't bring on the football team unless they're
not the emotional attachment.
Yeah, unless they're Cam or Luke or a player that is someone that is a stalwart member of the franchise.
Especially when they had a year like Panthers had last year on top.
In a contract year, Joe.
So many
drops. In a contract year, you have that?
Yeah.
Gosh. Because a lot of us who were kind of hard on him to start, I softened. You want to talk about this? And look, shout out to Ken D in the chat room. It says, I remember Cody didn't like DJ Moore, but kudos to you, Cody. You accepted it and kept an open mind.
Yeah.
I did not like the Devin Funchess selection. The reason being, we traded up for a guy that arguably, I think realistically, we could have fallen to us, right? Is that we traded up to get Devin Funchess. There was no need. There was zero need to trade up for Devin Funchess. A stain on Gettleman's record. But then I was so hard on Funchess that the early year because of that. Like I felt like I held on to the fact that that's not his fault that we traded up for him, right? But I held on to it, and then I softened a little bit on Devin Funchess. And then last year, he makes me think again. I'm back to original perspective when it comes to Devin Funchess, and I gotta say this: I was right all along. You cannot trust a man whose favorite food is salad.
You have been on that consistently. Brad Dugan in the chat says Funchess would drop the contract offer like he dropped the shout out to Brad. Probably not wrong with that one. That is a decision that we will have to make sometime soon.
We will not have to make a decision about it. If it happens, we have to make a decision. Can we continue? Oh my God! If that happens, no.
Let me tell you why I don't think it's far fetched. I think that knowing that Greg Olsen probably has another year, I think that there's a familiarity that Cam Newton has with Devin Funchess that he has yet to build up with other players on the offense with DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. Now Ryan Khalil is no longer on the football team. Maybe they do it for Cam. I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen. But I'm just saying, if it does happen and we sign Devin Funchess to another contract, I'm not surprised. On Tate, if we sign
I will be floored. I will be floored. You're not surprised. I would be floored if that happens.
All right. Well,
Joey, you be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, Joey.
Would you be? You only have two options. Would you not be surprised, or would you be floored?
Joey. I would be surprised.
All right. All right. I mean, I hope I'm wrong.
I think if he does get signed, it's going to be to like a 1-year deal. If he does get signed, but I don't think it'll happen.
I want to give continued shout outs to Ken D, who may be my soulmate, my YouTube and Twitter soulmate. He said this. He said, I still say it's Ted Ginn with the hands issue. It's why I call him Daisy. He catches it not. Is that Kendai? It might be Kendai.
It has to be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
And he uses that Daisy comment a lot. So that's got to be Kendai. My point is this, is ultimately is that I think that is that he has stone hands. Stone hands. Ted Ginn. About to Ted Ginn. Let's move along. Guys, let's now move on to this. Is that what's next? Oh, Cody, we got what we're talking about now. We got to jump into the cat calls. We've already done. We have done so much tonight. We might have to cut it short. Quickly going in this is let's jump into these cat calls and see what you guys got to say. The number is 252-228-5098. You can be a part of the longest running Panthers podcast, the C3 Panthers podcast. Just call in, leave a message anytime, and let us know what you think about this backup quarterback situation. Actually, I don't really want – that's the least thing I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about – I really do. I really don't want you to talk – I want you to talk about should we be drafting an offensive – yeah, Devin Funchess is a better topic. Should we be drafting an offensive lineman in the first or second round? Is Darren Gant on – smoking weed at the point where he says we need a backup quarterback in the second? I'm understanding of the backup quarterback stuff, but the second? I was thinking fourth or fifth. But here, you can have your voice heard on the C3 Panthers podcast. The number is 252-228-5098. Let's jump into these calls.
What are your thoughts on catcalling? Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody. And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like a 3 and a 4 and a who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in the snow? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hi guys, it's Rich calling from England. Just wandering around thinking about it. So, first thing, farewell to Mike Adams and Captain Munnerlyn. You think you're sad to see them go, but age is certain. Well, I don't know how much it was catching up with Mike, but it'd been pretty decent for 2 years, but certainly time to move on. And I think Captain's basically wasn't quite there last year. The third and long situation we were in all the time last year. Basically, everything kept going through into that middle section. Whether it was Mike, whether it was Captain, whether it was their misunderstanding. But, I mean, I was tweeting you guys, Tony and Cody, about it as it happened. 2 fantastic first and second down. It's 3rd and 15. Bang, 17 yards.
Yes, we were terrible. We were awful on 3rd down.
So, yeah, hopefully Eric Reid now in that stage. Maybe Golden comes in, maybe Cornelder comes in, or maybe we look in the draft. I don't know. But those 2 guys, I'm desperate for them to re-sign Kyle Love. I'm getting quite nervous.
He loves.
Not going to make it.
My man loves Kyle Love.
London fan club.
I do too, man.
But
he's
his
good.
production last year plus 1 more year. See how we go. Well, it might depend what they do in the draft. Yeah, been having lots of fun, lots of mock draft things out there. You've probably seen the Draft Network one got released. And everybody's doing it. Thousands and thousands of mock drafts.
Yeah, I love it.
A lot of drafts. We're getting Jonah Williams dropping to us, which would just be absolute manna from heaven.
That's
left tackle from Alabama dropping to us
manna
at
from
16.
heaven. Great.
I don't know. I don't think it'll happen. I think it's going to be too good. But like I said the other day, I really think we're going to get a decent player is going to be there. It might be Cleveland Farrell. It could be Williams. It could be Jawan Taylor.
Love that.
Keep playing around with the mocks and doing all sorts of crazy things. Other names to look at: Charles Omenihu, possibly in the second.
Yeah, we previewed Charles on here.
Johnson of Florida, the safety. But again, these guys look like they're going to go between 20 and 40 before we get a second pick. And that beating the Saints off there this season starting to look painful. So just have to see now. Anyway. Hopefully everyone's following the combine, see what happens with the track meet, see how good everyone looks in their pants.
Underwear Olympics, baby.
And basically go from there. All right, guys. Looking forward to the podcast. Keep pounding.
Thank you, Rich. You're my dude right there. Let's see what else we got.
Hey, Panther Podcast.
G. This is my boy G.
G. Cavassier.
Yeah.
I got a little situation for y'all.
2 favorite people.
This is something to make y'all think for tonight, man.
All right.
Now, we all know, you know what I'm saying, Mike Adams is not with us no more, and Captain Munnerlyn is not with us no more. Thank God, because I never forget that dude for that damn Seattle game. I'm going to leave it like that. But I was reading online, and I thought about this. What do you guys think about us trying to get Ha-Ha Clinton Dix from the Redskins? I think that would be pretty good, you know. To me, you team him with Reid, I think that'd be pretty good. But one of the things that I was really thinking about is come this draft. Like I told you, I called here before and said, would you rather go offense or defense? Now, like I told you guys before, I mean, to me, I really like that dude, Jonah Williams out of Alabama to play tackle. I think he could be a first-day starter. That's my opinion. But another dude that I noticed was the young man, what's his name, Cody Ford out of Oklahoma.
Oh,
He can play offensive tackle and he can play guard. You know, those 2, the short guard, offensive line, I think that was good. Now, when it comes to defense, now, Cody, you said this before, man.
He's got a first name of Cody and a last name of Mel
White falls to pick 16.
Yes.
Devin White, the linebacker out of LSU.
I would love that.
Man, that would be something. Him next to Luke Kuechly. Oh, my God.
I know. They'd never be able to run the ball.
That would be really good, you know. And to me, if we can't get him, what do you think about, you know, Clinton Farrell out of Clemson? You know, he could play outside linebacker.
I know,
you know,
Joey
and he could play defensive end. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's something. I see a lot of people see us taking Montez Sweat out of Mississippi State, and I believe he can play outside linebacker and defensive end too. So it's a lot of things that cross my mind. So you guys give me your opinion. Me personally, I want a tackle to keep Cam Newton up. And people need to quit saying that we're going to pick up Antonio Brown. We don't have the damn money for that.
Hey,
shit.
man.
For real, man. I'm tired of people saying that.
I'm with you. Okay? I don't even want to talk about it.
Opinions at all the people I named and keep pounding.
My man G. So, okay, he mentioned Jonah Williams, and we've said this name before. And if you follow any of the draft process, I mean, that's been the name that everybody talks about. And rightfully
what you've talked about, and what you have talked about is that you have always said if this guy falls to the mid, go for him.
I would love it, man. And see, what's interesting to me now is it's looking now like the tackle from Florida. His name is Kawann Taylor. He played right tackle, but it's not really that much of an issue to move a right tackle from left. Hell, we saw Taylor Moton do it last year. A lot of people are saying that he's every bit of what Jonah Williams is. So maybe one of them, if it's not Jonah Williams, maybe Kawann Taylor falls into our lap. The guy he mentioned, Cody Ford, that's another player who played right tackle.
Great name. Great name.
Perfect name. Strong, powerful, manly
First
name.
name Cody, last name Mel Mayock.
Yeah, and there's the versatility to be able to put inside also. And the Panthers love drafting players that are flexible and that you can move them around on the offensive line. They're versatile enough to be able to be played wherever you need them to. As much as I want to draft offensive line and defensive line, and I hope that we do, the best selections in the draft for us might not even be at those positions. You heard him say Devin White. That's the best linebacker in the draft. He's still new to the position. He was a fullback in high school, but he is dominant. He's fast, powerful. I'm telling you, man, him next to Luke, everyone's Shaq who? Shaq what?
I'm a bit, if that's the case, then actually I want to ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you do that, do you be the jerk facility who then cuts Shaq right then?
I don't know if you would do it right then, because
you have time, right? Don't you have time, like before the draft?
No, I think
after.
You keep him
like, but imagine that, Joey. Imagine picking a linebacker to replace Shaq Thompson and what he could have been in the first round, and saying, Shaq, we're paying you $9 million to be a backup next year. I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think that's reasonable. If we pick a linebacker in the first or second rounds, I think you got to cut Shaq. The decency of the human being for Shaq Thompson. Let him go out in free agency.
I don't think so.
Am I weird? Is that weird?
Yeah.
Joey says yes. I don't know that I don't know that will happen. And in fact, I'm pretty certain that it won't. But when you have Devin White,
we are not picking a linebacker in the first fucking round. And that's what. How about this?
Yeah,
Joe?
I don't want to.
That's what we said. That's what we said when we had John Beeson.
Yep.
And Thomas Davis. And Joe, who did you want that year? I'm going to tell the name. He played. No, you did not.
He
wanted. No, you wanted Maurice Claiborne.
The running back?
No. He's a defensive back for the Jets now. Right? No, who is the guy? The Cowboys drafted him. He was a cornerback out of LSU.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Oh, from LSU.
Claiborne.
Yeah.
Claiborne. Joe, and Joe got me hooked on this dude. Joe, I was so on this. I was like, we got to get Claiborne. I was with Joe. I was ride or die. I was holding his coattails. And then the Cowboys traded up for him. Remember that? The Cowboys traded up for Clay. I think it was it Clay Moore?
No, you're right. It's Claiborne. I can't think of his first name though.
Maurice, right? Maurice.
I thought
it was. I thought it was. And then Joe was like, and I was so on this because, you know, we get our favorites, right? We get our favorites. We're going into the draft.
Oh, yeah.
For me, the favorite I've had in the draft that I wanted so much was the year that we picked Kelvin Benjamin. I wanted the Carolina Panthers to pick Bradley Roby.
Oh, yeah.
And that was just, you know, I'm just cheering for, at that point, it's not even about the team. It's about me wanting to be right. And Joe wanted Claiborne, whatever his name was, so bad. And then, do you remember the Cowboys traded up for him, and the Panthers go and fucking pick a damn linebacker, and we're like, we got John Beeson, we got Thomas Davis, and then we picked Luke Kuechly. So what I'm trying to get to is that at the same time, while we want all these things, Marty Herney, boy, he might give you, yeah, exactly. Watch out.
And listen, guys, as soon as Tony's right, I'm counting down the days that we're done with this free agency bullshit.
He wants to get to the draft, which is 6 days from tomorrow.
So hard, man. I'm done with it. I know so many of these players, and I want to share with you, my people, man. There's so many players I would love. Another one is Greedy Williams, the corner out of LSU. He was teammates with Dante Jackson. He is a shutdown cornerback. I wrote about him on drafttech.com. Williams is an incredible talent. I mean, listen, depending on how free agency moves for the Panthers, you want to be in the position to do best player available. I don't know if we're going to be at that spot, though, with the type of money that we have right now. I still feel it has to be on the defensive line or the offensive line. I'm happy with either one of those. But, yeah, my favorite pick right now for value might be Devin White if he falls to us. Now, I personally don't feel he falls past Cincinnati because they're going to move on from Burfict. So, you know, I don't know. But I would love to have him. Greedy Williams is an incredible player. There's a lot of players that might fall to us. This draft will be fun, y'all. And I hope you stay tuned right here. We're going to have premium draft content for you here on the C3 Panthers podcast, baby. You already know.
Keep pounding. What you do know is that that we have been, and I would argue that we've cutting edge on this, Joe. Is that like I'm going out there, like we're like the ESPN of YouTube discussions when it comes to draft night. For the last 5 or 6 years, we have done a live draft party. And I gotta say, one of the best things, one of the things I look forward most to of all the C3 fans, of all the people that are involved in the podcast, is that draft night, because we get to hang out. All we do is this, and this is what we want you to think about this show, folks, is that you can, if you're the media, you can downgrade, you can look down upon us. You can shat on us in your pretentiousness, but at the end of the day, we are fans that every day check every website, that read every little bit that we can find about the Carolina Panthers. And for the last over 5 years on draft night, we hang out as a family on draft night and talk and commentate. We just react. It's so fun. I think it's cutting edge. Not cutting edge. It was cutting edge. Now you folks are missing out if you don't hang out with Panther fans on draft night. It's kind of like watching the Oscars with your friends. You've got to do that, Joe. All right. So we've done the cat calls. We've done the combine. The combine. Actually, let me ask you this, Cody. Let's just get the combine out of here. What the heck? Yeah, is that it's coming? I said to you before the show, isn't that next week? And I said, oh, I remember this. I went on a radio show. My buddy, I've been going on every Friday for the last 5 years on the Sports Bar, Pirate Radio 1250. And I was so hyped. Look, Mel Mayock used to be so into the drafts. He made us do the draft guide. We were working. I was editing, Joe, like crazy. I was doing all of that stuff. Yeah, imagine all that work we put in, and I don't really like draft stuff, to be honest. I don't watch. It's not that
you
I
and
don't
I
like
could
it.
not be more different. I live for this
It's
time
not that
of
I
year,
don't
man.
like it. It's just that it's so much to keep up with. Anyway,
There's so
every
much
year,
information.
every year, every single year, I've become less and less interested in the combine. Tell me, Cody, why you are more and more interested this year.
Well, one thing, it's the future. I mean, imagine it's
good answer. Great answer.
Imagine it's 2011, and you see this handsome beast of a mofo running a 4.5 at 248 pounds.
Yeah,
the future
like
of the Carolina Panthers. Everyone, the combine is this weekend, and you're going to see
the combine is like porn.
Dude, you're going to see the future of the Carolina Panthers Friday through Monday. I mean, this is, everyone is interested in, what player do you want? What position do you value more? Offensive line, defensive line. We need a little bit of everything. But ultimately, when you know the players, you have that feeling of, I knew them even before they were on our football team. I knew them, when they didn't have the Panthers helmet on. They were just, players that we were hopeful about, that they might turn into something. And that's what this time represents, and I'm a fan of college football, so I've known these dudes for a while. It's just fun, man. I love it. Also, these dudes are about to be millionaires. They're about to be millionaires, man. Some of them come from nothing at all, from podunk towns in Alabama and Mississippi or wherever they come from, man. They're about to change their lives, and it's a fun process. We're all going to be here on draft night, hammering some beers, man, having fun.
And draft night is so fun on the seat, and it's not even us. Imagine having people like Cody who love this so much, people like Mel Mayock who love this so much. Mel Mayock's not going to be here probably this year, but the point is that every year my interest slightly diminishes in this, not because of the process, just because of how much effort I've put in to the Panthers, to the podcast, and all of that. I'm gonna let Cody take this shine here, but Joe, we hang out here, and the one thing that's guaranteed, you may not like the Panthers pick on the first round on that Thursday night. You may not like the events that unfold, but you're guaranteed to have Tony Dunn pound like, I don't know, and be incomprehensible by the end of the draft.
By the end of the night, he is in another place.
I am above. I've seeked a higher ground. Yes.
Yeah, they're fun. They are fun.
All right, Cody, let's go into this. Look, we are pounding away. We have so much to talk about. We've been killing it all night. Let's go with this. Combine is that we've talked about the combine a little bit. As you're thinking in the framework of the combine, tell us a little bit now of, with that in mind, how that is influencing your draft thoughts going forward.
Yeah, so if you're interested in it, if you have NFL Network or ESPN, it'll even be on ABC this year. There's a few interesting storylines to look out for going into the draft that are, it's about the Panthers, and some of it is just in general. I mean, it's like a drama in and of itself with a lot of these players and the teams looking for players. So I wanted to share with you all a few stories. The best receiver in this draft is a man named DK Metcalf, and this man is 6'5", 225 pounds, And according to Brad Kelly of the Draft Network, man might run a 4.38. Okay, and he says that's not him just making some numbers up. That means he's already ran that football. He's already ran that number, and that's what is being told to him. So I'm telling you, if at 200 and almost 230 pounds, if he runs that fast, he is a top 10 prospect. I mean, that's everything that we wanted Benjamin and Funchess to be, and they never turned out to be. That's huge right there. Brian Burns, defensive end out of Florida State, fast, athletic, dominant edge rusher, 231 pounds though. So if he weighs in at around 250, that might boost him up a lot, because teams in the NFL, they want your defensive end to be able to set the edge and be able to defend the run. If you're 230-something pounds, that's hard to do. So be on the lookout for that, how much Brian Burns weighs. And this man might be the belle of the ball at quarterback. Already has $3 million from Oakland, the Athletics, to play baseball. Kyler Murray, the Heisman Trophy winner. They're saying he might be 5'9". And Tony, how tall is Russell Wilson? Like what, 5'10", 5'11", something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Murray, would be the shortest quarterback to essentially ever be drafted. Kyler Murray is an interesting story moving forward. Moving on, a man that Joey and I know very well, Dexter Lawrence, was suspended for the final 3 playoff games against Alabama. They had will he pass his drug test? If he does, and he runs a fast 40 time at the combine, and he might be able to prove that he's not just a space eater, that he has the potential to rush the quarterback and move upfield and be dominant at as maybe even a 3-tech. Rashawn Gary out of Michigan, a dominant defensive end, a dominant athlete, powerful football player. He might blow up the combine. His athletics are dominant, super athlete. And this man, Joey turned me on to him. This is Hakeem Butler, 6'6", 225 pounds.
Love 6'6".
Yeah.
Loved hearing that.
Dominant.
What's he run? Is he run? Does he run fast as the wind? If he does that, I'm ready.
Well, that's what we need to know. If he runs a 40 time fast enough, he might shoot up draft boards. And if Devin Funchess isn't going to be on the team, this would be the perfect replacement for Devin Funchess.
Let me ask you this: picture, the picture that is up here right now of him making this catch right here, is that if he put on a Panthers jersey and made that catch, he would automatically be better than Funchess or anybody since Steve Smith and Muhammad Muhammad has been for Carolina.
Yeah,
Joe, is he that good? Joey, do you believe in it?
He's very good. He put up some pretty good numbers.
6'6".
Yeah.
We need that. We need a 6'6" guy. That's an AJ. Look, I don't think AJ Green is 6'6".
No, he's not that tall. Not that tall.
But to me, it's a body type a little bit. And
it is. And
just looking at that picture, that's who I think of. I think of AJ Green looking at that picture.
He has to show the ability to run routes well, to run a route tree that's more than just a go route, more than just being a big body receiver. If he's able to do that, yeah, listen, he might be an early second-round pick. I mean, Hakeem Butler wasn't on my radar until Joey told me about him. I love him. I love his tape. He has a much higher upside than Devin Funchess. Would be a fun player for us to have on the team. And, yeah, man, that's all Friday through Monday. coming up. I'm excited for it.
What day is quarterbacks and receivers?
I'll look it up. Go ahead and talk.
Okay, 1 through 3. Yeah, I believe it's 1 to 3, and it'll be on ABC also. But I know it's also going to be on NFL Network. So
yeah, I'm gonna be tuning in on the days of.
All right, so here is this. Friday, March 1st is running backs, offensive line, special teams, PK, I guess, kickers. Saturday will be quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends. So if you're the fancy pants, Saturday is your day, fancy pants. Your flashy divas are going to be turning in on Saturday. The hardcore people, I think Friday's our day. We need to know about offensive linemen, and we need to learn a lot. And I think it's all about, I think our days for the Carolina Panthers and looking at the combine is my opinion, Friday and Sunday. Sunday's defensive line and linebackers. And then Monday is defensive backs. To me, I think we learn a lot in the opening day about offensive line. To me, I personally think is I could care a shit less about a quarterback in the draft. To be honest, I don't believe that whole idea of drafting a quarterback and potentially trading him really works. I think it's such a fluke. I would rather just try to say we love Cam, we believe in Cam, and that is going to be the deal. If we don't do that, then I'm worried about his shoulder all of a sudden. For me, this is all about offensive linemen. It's all about defensive pass rush.
Yes.
And then maybe I'll field a little interest in the secondary at defensive back. To me, I'm watching on Friday and Sunday right there. Guys, we've talked, man, this show, I'm telling you guys, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. We're live every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Go ahead and turn your phone to portrait mode. Smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe. And here's how I'm telling you, there are people that Susan gave us $15 tonight. Josh from Mash contributed $28.03. The significance of that should speak to your heart. I am not asking for your money. I understand every single person in the world is begging and pleading for you to give them $1. That's not what we're asking for you here. Is that if you do want to do that, then that's fantastic. This is what you can help the C3 Panthers podcast do. You can help us grow. You can help us grow by sharing the show with a friend. Tell the friend, one-to-one friend, that you love the Panthers and that you know that they will love this podcast. Because if you love the Panthers and you don't love this podcast, that's just freaking weird. Second, all you can do is this. Smash the thumbs up button. Share it on social media. Smotional media, as I get 3 or 4 or 5 sheets into the wind, Joe. Smotional media. But the point is this. I don't need them, Joe. Am I begging for their money?
No, not at all. You're begging them for their friendship, their fandom, and to become part of the C3 family.
That's it. Is I don't want them that all of that is just fantastic on the outside. What is better is that I'm so happy right now to be with my best friend Joe Riolano, talking with him. I cannot, and I know that you guys don't know that out there, but it's been a